Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. For almost a century, Farm Bureau has been a friend of the farm for all Virginians. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Here's a look at what's coming up on this week's show. The future of farming could be indoors. Oh my! Chef Tammy made strawberry pie. And you'll never guess how this Amelia County dairy is creating renewable energy.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from historic Haw Branch Plantation in Amelia County. We'll have more about the agriculture from this property's past coming up a little bit later in the show. But first, indoor farming is providing a glimpse of what agriculture could look like in the future.
One of the barriers to getting fresh food to urban consumers has been the distance it has to travel to get to them. But indoor farming offers a solution to that, where food is grown in urban areas. Produce doesn't have to travel long distances and can be delivered sometimes in 24 hours. That means the consumer gets to enjoy the nutrients and flavor. And there are other benefits.
The taste, you can manipulate the taste and change based on the growing techniques.
Another benefit is the longer shelf life food grown locally can provide the consumer. Food like the lettuce, root vegetables, and microgreens grown at Area 2 farms in Arlington. That's another advantage of indoor farming. It can be done in densely populated parts of the state as well as in rural areas.
The advantages of indoor farming is that you're able to grow so much food in such a compact space.
But Area 2 Farms is taking things a step further by moving the plants throughout the day.
So the bottom 2 layers of the farm are not lit, and the rest of the farm is lit. What that does is the bottom 2 layers are where the plants are sleeping. Once they come up onto that 3rd layer, they'll get watered, so they'll get their breakfast for the day, and they'll go through the rest of the system. And we have lift gates that will drop the plants back down and put them into their nighttime. So we're replicating a plant's day cycle just by moving the plants versus mass heating or mass cooling or mass lighting farms, which is what typical indoor farms will do.
Area 2 is also operating on the Community Supported Agriculture Model, or CSA. That means they grow the food on the premises, and customers can subscribe to their service and order specific items from a menu of offerings. Area 2 has hundreds of subscribers each week, illustrating the demand for fresh food in urban areas.
We have the ability to give it to our community, to our families, within 24 hours of it being harvested. So that allows these families to get things on their tables that they would have never seen in the shelves of these stores.
Because of its practical benefits, state and local governments have taken steps to make it easier to get an indoor farming operation off the ground.
Now in Virginia, if you want to build an indoor farm, all of the growing equipment, the glass exterior is all exempt from sales and use tax at purchase, which can be a pretty big deal. We've also passed legislation that classifies this as farm equipment. So many localities don't tax farm equipment, but it wasn't officially classified as farm equipment before. So last year, legislation passed that deems all indoor growing equipment as farming. And so the localities that choose to exempt that from their tax rolls, now they can do that. Virginia's invested heavily in research through the Institute of Advanced Learning and Research in Danville, through their controlled environment, CEA Innovation Center, led by Dr. Scott Lohman, where they can do research that benefits the whole state of Virginia, or they can do contract research for particular companies.
In addition to tax incentives, some local governments are taking steps to ensure indoor farming businesses aren't at odds with zoning ordinances. Area 2 is looking to expand.
At the time that they came to us, we didn't really have anything in our zoning ordinance as far as business uses that kind of fit the model of what they're providing the community. And so what the city did was move pretty quickly to try to institute some zoning text amendments to provide an avenue for businesses like that to be able to operate within the city without needing any type of special approval from council or going to a public hearing or anything like that.
With a changing environment and a demand for fresh produce, indoor farming is a good bet for those looking into the future of agriculture. For Real Virginia, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
Indoor farming is also known as Controlled Environment Agriculture, or CEA. Virginia leaders have promoted this state as leader in CEA due to its strategic location to markets in the Northeast, Southeast, and international ports. According to the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, Virginia can also provide top talent from community colleges and universities. With concerns about a changing climate and resource availability, indoor farming offers another option for growing the food of the future.
I'm Ed Olson with From the Ground Up, and today we're going to be talking about foodscaping. Stay with us.
Every year, 500 people in the United States die in an all-terrain vehicle-related accident, and another 1,000 people are seriously injured. Sadly, many of those victims are children.
Number one tip for riding an ATV is definitely wearing a helmet. You think about the opportunity to overturn an ATV, imagine your head the same density as a watermelon, and how easy it would be to crack. One of the biggest things that we always push for anybody we train is always make sure that you have a good quality helmet before you ride.
This message brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau Safety Advisory Committee.
Foodscaping is an edible way to add visual interest to your garden view. Ed Olson with Virginia Cooperative Extension has some ideas to get started from the ground up.
We're here today in the Oregon Hill neighborhood, just outside of Richmond, Virginia, and we're talking to Master Gardener Phaedra Heiss, and she's going to talk to us today about the concept of foodscaping. Phaedra, what is foodscaping?
So foodscaping is kind of what it sounds like. It's landscaping, so it's attractive, but with food, with edible plants.
And so what do you have in your foodscape? Do you have a lot of annuals or perennials?
Good foodscaping is actually a mix of both. So generally what I do, because vegetables are pretty much annuals, they go in every year fresh. So I tend to have those just be the annuals, and then with flowers I try to do more perennials so that they're low maintenance, low care. I know they're going to return year after year.
Speaking of perennials, can you use a mixture of herbs also as part of your foodscaping?
Yeah, herbs are a really great perennial, and they're also, for an urban landscape like Oregon Hill, where it's hot and dry and sunny, they do really, really well. Italian herbs like rosemary and all of those.
So what are we going to see here today in your garden?
Right now is kind of an odd time of year. It's called the Hungry Gap, and it means that your winter vegetables they're kind of at the end of their life, but your spring and summer vegetables haven't really kicked in yet. So you're going to see some early spring things like peas and lettuces and arugula are coming in, and then you're also going to see some late winter things like collards and kale, onions, some broccoli, and then some bulbs have already come up and gone, but then I've got some peonies that are coming in, and a couple of other flowers that you'll see, early flowers.
So you mentioned some flowers. A lot of them are ornamental. Do you use any that you also eat?
I do. I eat marigolds and nasturtiums. They're both beautiful, and they both have a kind of a peppery flavor, and they're a nice little bright pop of color in a salad.
You mentioned that these annual vegetables are finishing up their life cycle. What do you do special then to change them out and put into the warm vegetable season?
You know, I don't really do much special. I don't have to do a whole lot to the soil because I'm not doing like a mass removal of vegetation and then replacing it. Okay. The soil is pretty healthy because these flowers, these perennials are there keeping their roots in the soil and keeping the microbes happy. So what I generally will do is succession plant, and that means like I'll grow some collards, and then as the collards start to be done and I'm eating those, daffodils will come up, and then as the daffodils start to die back, I'll pop a tomato in there. So there's not really an empty space at any given moment.
We mentioned annuals and perennials, but I see some fruit tree here. What are we looking at over here with this big tree?
That's my fig. I'm so excited about it. So with the fig, I've done something that used to be really popular in like the 1800s. It's called espalier, and it's when you very aggressively prune the tree so that it just has a few limbs coming out that grow fruit, and that's so that you can actually reach all of the limbs and harvest all of the fruit.
This is fairly big size, I think. How long have you been doing this?
Yeah, this fig is 3 years old.
Only 3 years old.
They're fast growing, and I'm hoping it's got fruit set on it this year. I'm hoping to get figs. I didn't get any last year, hoping to get them this year.
I hope so too for you. Well, thank you so much for showing us your garden today, Phaedra, and talking about foodscaping. For more information about foodscaping, contact your local master gardener. For From the Ground Up, I'm Ed Olson. See you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Coming up on Heart of the Home, strawberry pie. We hope you'll stay with us.
Farming is a rewarding way of life, but it can also be full of challenges. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the AgriStress helpline at 833-897-2473. It offers 24/7 access to professionals who can support someone in need and help find mental health services in your community. Please make the call, because healthy farms depend on healthy farm families. That's 833-897-2474.
Strawberry pie in mid-May. What more could you want? Chef Tammy shows us how to make it in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Welcome to Heart of the Home. Today we're going to be taking advantage of those delicious strawberries that are in season right now, and we're going to start with a strawberry pie. This has a crumb topping, which I love crumb toppings versus your lattice work. I feel like they're pretty, but there's a little bit more work than a crumb topping. So what we're going to start with is the crumb topping, and we've got flour and sugar in our bowl here, and what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little pinch of nutmeg. All right, and now we're going to come back in with some butter that I've already cubed. Now, if you have a pastry blender, which is kind of a roundish fork-like thing, they do certainly make your life easier. But if you don't have one of those, you can use a couple of forks maybe, or you can do this by hand. So we're going to start with doing it by hand. I think it was about 6 tablespoons of butter, if I'm not mistaken. Just going to kind of mix that together, the flour, the sugar, the nutmeg, and the butter. What we're looking for is kind of a crumbly texture to make the crumb topping. And this does tend to take a few minutes if you're doing it by hand. It's okay to have a couple of chunks of butter. You just don't want them too large. All right, so our crumb topping is done. We're going to set it to the side. We've got these beautiful fresh strawberries here, to which we're going to add some sugar and a little bit more flour and some cornstarch. I'm going to toss that up. You don't want to get really rough-handed with this. You kind of want the strawberries to stay somewhat intact and thick and big. All right, and while that's waiting, we're going to come back and work with our crust. Store-bought rollout dough. Perfectly fine to use this. It is certainly a time saver. If you want to make homemade dough, there's nothing wrong with that either. We're going to roll that out. It's been sitting at room temperature a little bit. You have a pie dish waiting on the side here. Now you can come back and try to be pretty if you want. You can push it between your fingertips and your knuckles. Or you can leave it rustic if you'd like. I do like to keep it in a dip dish form to a certain extent so it doesn't spill out of the edges when everything bakes. So our crust is ready. Now we're going to put our strawberries with the cornstarch, flour, and sugar in there. And then I'm going to come back with that crumb topping. When I make my apple crumb pie, I always do a little extra topping. I love the crunchiness. All right, got that beautiful crumb topping. And yes, now we're going to do more butter. You've got cubes of butter waiting, just kind of dot them around. All right, now our pie is going to go into a convection bake oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. We then drop the temperature to 375 for about 45 minutes. It is absolutely perfect, I'm happy to say. I also want to mention that, we had these foil pieces sitting out before when we created the pie. I was very careful in watching it to make sure it didn't burn as we went along. If something like that, if you're not watching it, you're not careful, you will want to wrap your pie dish or your crust around with aluminum foil. Certainly helps keeps it from getting burned. But this is perfect as it is. I'm dying to cut into this. And there you have it, strawberry pie with a crumb topping. I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
The modern strawberry that we know and love was bred using 2 wild species, one from Chile and one from right here in Virginia, near the Lynnhaven River, where it was discovered in 1619. Now, over 400 years later, strawberries are the highest selling berry in Virginia. In 2022 alone, strawberries were grown on 722 farms across the Commonwealth and generated over $15.1 million in sales. And that's across 390 acres of strawberry fields. That's a lot of berries.
In this week's County Agricultural Close-Up, we visit Amelia County, home to some innovative dairy producers, crop farmers, and more. It's also home to Eliza Griles.
Located in Southside Virginia, Amelia County is known for its rich history and gem and mineral deposits. Quartz crystals and Civil War relics aren't the only things springing up from the soil, though. A diverse agricultural community raises cattle, row crops, tobacco, and tulips.
In northern Amelia County, Okmulgee Dairy Farm is the oldest continually operating family-owned dairy in Virginia. Brandon Moyer says a bold new venture will grow this legacy.
Recently, a company has invested in us to utilize our manure, and this project is going to be a co-digestion project to produce renewable natural gas. Essentially, we'll be providing them with the manure. They'll be having food waste shipped in, and then they'll be mixing the food waste with the manure and producing renewable natural gas to inject into a pipeline for energy sources throughout the country.
The first of its kind in Virginia, Moyer says not only will the digester be a renewable energy source, it will also turn out-of-date groceries back into food.
So this co-digestion project, essentially using food waste that would go in a landfill, we can harness that energy to produce natural gas in conjunction with making nutrients that we can land apply, that we can grow our crops to feed our cows to produce milk.
The Moyers are no stranger to innovation, though, as they have used robotic milkers since 2022. Haw Branch, another historical Amelia farm, is being revitalized by Brendan Burke and Lillian Azevedo.
From about 1735 to 1872, Haw Branch was operated as one of the Tabb family plantations as part of about 18,000 acres here in northern Amelia County. And they produced mostly tobacco, corn, wheat, and then exported that as well through canals here at Haw Branch and Flat Creek.
In addition to the historic home and buildings, Azevedo and Burke are also reviving interest in heritage chicken breeds.
In the 19th century and earlier, there were hundreds of chicken varieties that were raised for dual purpose. That means that they were used for eggs and also for meat. And then in the mid-20th century, the Cornish cross and specific breeds of chickens were introduced that filled one or the other purpose. And so as a result, many varieties and breeds of chickens became endangered or even extinct.
Azevedo and Burke sell chicks from several different heritage breeds, as well as eggs for eating. They were excited this spring to have the first lambs in over a century in the farm's lambing shed. Although no longer grown on plantations like Haw Branch, tobacco can be found on Buck Glasscock's farm.
30 or 40 years ago, it used to be everybody had tobacco, a little patch of tobacco. But now, it ain't but 2 of us in Amelia County that raise tobacco, flue tobacco.
Glasscock grows more than 45 acres of flue-cured tobacco, which is used in cigarettes. He says the difficulty of finding labor along with low prices has caused many farmers to stop production. According to the latest Census of Agriculture, there are 251 farms in Amelia County, covering 62,309 acres. The market value of crops is $15.3 million, with grains accounting for $11.8 million and tobacco earning $1.9 million. Milk brings in $7.7 million, while cattle warrant $4.8 million. Jay Griles raises beef cattle and says that strong relationships here are an asset to smaller producers.
There's really all stages of beef production in Amelia. There's cow-calf operators like me. There are folks that are buying calves and backgrounding them and raising them up to 800 or 900 pounds and then selling them to those feedlots at that weight. So the fact that there are folks working in all stages of the beef production industry helps everybody as we work together to provide the calves that folks need or provide markets for those calves.
Griles says that associations like the Amelia Area Cattlemen have bolstered cooperation in the beef sector here as well. Logan Vaughn and his family also raise beef cattle, along with corn, soybeans, and timber. Before planting corn and soybeans, though, a cover crop called vetch carpets the fields.
A lot of our fields, when I took over, we were lucky to find a field with 1% organic matter. But cover crops have gotten that organic matter up to, we've got some fields 3-4% of organic matter we've got in them now after 20 years of doing cover crops. We've experimented with a lot of different cover crops, but we plant a lot of vetch every year, and we're trying to capture nitrogen and make nitrogen for the following crop. Even soybeans, we've been doing some experiments on growing soybeans behind vetch and looks pretty promising so far. But definitely, with the corn behind vetch, you can definitely see the benefits of it on what our nitrogen to bushel ratios are behind the cover crop of vetch.
Vaughn says they plant the vetch in the fall using a drone, which helps reduce soil compaction. While Bridget McMillan leases some of her farm for row crops, she has found her agricultural niche with flowers.
All of the major floral holidays are in the winter. And most all of our flowers are imported from overseas because in our growing environment in Virginia, without special infrastructure, you cannot hit our floral holidays. I was determined to figure out how to do it. I think local grown is very important, but I really wanted to know how to meet the Valentine's demand. And I learned how to grow tulips hydroponically, and we were able to have flowers actually starting in January this year.
Whether it's hydroponic tulips, the tradition of tobacco, or using food waste as fertilizer, the farmers of Amelia County are committed to a thriving agricultural future. In Amelia County, Virginia, I'm Elijah Griles.
We're so glad you could join us to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
We know that farmers don't always get a chance to hear from the folks who use their products in their homes and on their tables. So we visited the State Fair of Virginia to get some thoughts from our fairgoers on what it is that you do and how it impacts their lives every day.
People love to know where their food and fiber are coming from. They love to know who's producing it, how they're producing it, what it all goes into it. They love to know the family aspect, whether it's a multi-generation operation or it's a brand new young farmer or just a brand new farmer. They love to know everything about it. So we're really seeing a push for people to see, where their food and fiber comes from and how it's grown and why it's grown.
My name's Orlando Fleming, and I'm from Powhatan, Virginia. Powhatan's a wonderful county. I just want to say thank you to all the guys. We've got some wonderful farmers in Powhatan. We've got probably the best farmers in the world right here in Virginia. And we want to say thank you. We know it's a tough job. It's not a whole lot of big money rollers, but we want to thank you and God bless all of you guys.
Virginia's farmers are the best farmers in the world. Thank you so much for farming through pandemics, through good weather, through bad weather, through good times and in bad times. We appreciate y'all so much for everything that you do.
There's something important that I want to tell you. How important is the food. And the food is produced here in the fields of Virginia. I thank them very much because they take a lot of responsibility to feed us. Thank you to them because they feed us. Somebody said once that when the humanity ends without food, we'll have to look for food in the sea. But I also want to say that not only in the sea, we will have to turn to our fields. Thanks God that they are taking this responsibility. I wish them luck and the best blessing from the Lord. Thank you very much.
I'd be happy to turn around and tell that farmer, male or female, exactly how appreciative I am for all the hard work they do. I can appreciate the ridiculous hours that they have to work and how they're out on the farm for what little return that they get. And I want them to know, I'd like you to know, with how appreciative I am and my family are for everything that we buy local, that we try to do as best we possibly can, whether it's on the beef or whether it's on the vegetables and things that we have when we grow. And I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you very much for all they do.
There is no life without farmers because they feed us with a great food and we can really be healthy and the life will be much better with them. And I really, and my grandson, we appreciate the hard work because it's really hard. And we appreciate it very much when we eat the eggs, beautiful eggs or milk or any dairy or meat. We always thank you in our prayers and our thoughts, the farmers who gave us this gift of nature. And I wish them all well and good luck and be healthy as well as we are because of their food.
We'd like to thank the farmers. We have farmers in our family and we appreciate what you do every day. From the milk, the pork that we use, all the vegetables that we get, we thank you and keep up what you do. We're there for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for all that you do. I know it's difficult and very tiring, so thank you for having us to eat healthy, nutritious food. God bless you.
Because if we're not appreciated, they might stop and then we won't have a lot of stuff that we have today.
I'd like to say thank you to all the farmers that put in hard work for the people that go to grocery stores and get common things like milk, eggs. Commonly, we don't really think about the farmers like that when we do those things, but me personally, I like to take appreciation towards them for their hard work and labor they put towards their work. Thank you, farmers.
Thank you so much because we really love the food and we know it's hard to grow it. You all work so hard and we're so appreciative of it. Thank you, farmers.
We're thankful for our farmers for giving us all of our food, locally sourced, and taking care of this baby's tummy so he can grow really big.
Thank you, farmers.